30 projections in 30 days going into the 2024 regular season for the New York Mets as we continue our month-long deep dive into the Mets' 40-man roster. Today we are talking about an outfielder known as Starling Marte. After an all-star caliber 2022, no one had a more miserable 2023 than Starling Marte. Battling through multiple injuries and recovering from double groin surgery, Marte slashed .248, .301, .324 with 5 home runs and a 76 weighted runs created plus in 341 plate appearances. Marte has always been a player who relies on his all-around plus tools to provide value. Last year, not many of them were on display, with career worsts in contact rates and career worsts in average exit velocity, max exit velocity, hard hit rate, pull fly ball rate, ground ball rate, and barrel rate. Although his pitch selection was never elite, Marte was a disaster against the breaking ball, posting a .597 OPS with just 3 extra base hits all year per splits, with a career worst in whiff rate and chase rates against breaking balls and overall. But with his offensive struggles came defensive struggle, where Marte handled a second-to-career worst negative 8.9 defensive run value and a negative 5 outs above average across 693.2 innings logged in right field last season, providing a negative run value to his right, left, and behind him in defensive opportunities. On the upside of things, Marte's base running was still a plus, a 7.8 BSR over 650, while stealing 24 bases in 28 attempts. His overall athletic ability still came into question, landing in a career low 42nd percentile in sprint speed, as opposed to his typical top 25% every year in that category. From tons of rehab in the offseason, Marte is expected to play in spring with little to no limitation, hoping to bounce back to give the Mets lineup a massive boost. Marte is going to be entering a 35-year-old season and will be owed $19.5 million for the next 2 years, completing a 4-year, $78 million fully guaranteed contract that he signed with the Mets 2 off-seasons ago.
Just an overall really rough year from Starling Marte. It was clear that something was up, whether you're watching him at the plate or in the field. He just wasn't himself. Even though the times when he was out there, like you said, there wasn't just much jolt coming off that bat, not much pop. So overall, it just turned out to be just a really disappointing season from, going through the surgeries and all those other things that, this is a year that we need something out of him because we didn't have high expectations year 4 of the contract. So for year 2 to go as bad as it did, I mean, if year 3 is just as bad or worse, now he's going to age 35 season, it's going to be really rough with the kind of contract that he's getting. So for me, it's just that I just want to see the guy healthy because when healthy, he's probably the most exciting player on this team overall, just his play style. And he's just a guy that he was a big part of why the Mets had that great season in 2022. I mean, the difference with him on the team and not on the team was pretty big. So having him back in the fold and hopefully healthy would be a big improvement for this team.
Like we said when the deal was constructed, we said, all right, we can get 2 good years and then we pray on that back half. And it came early. I mean, can he be one of the biggest X factors? Yeah, if he's back to anything of that all-star form, yeah, he can be a valuable piece to the offense. Are we banking on that? No. And if I had to put $1 billion guess, do we get more 2023 than 2022? Of course, I bet that. If he's healthy, again, he had the groins, all these surgeries and all this, and even when he was in his prime, he was always injury prone. So we knew once that we signed that deal, we knew what we were getting into. We got one really good season, and then year 2 bad. We don't know what the hell these next 2 years are going to look like. But if he's healthy and gives you 50%, it's better than what you had last year. Again, and if he can give you anything, you're banking. You're like, fine, you take whatever you can. There's a way you can pop out and be a productive player again, or he can be an X factor. There's no point of trusting a 36-year-old corner outfielder who's coming off groin surgery. He's looked fine in winter ball. He didn't look amazing. He just looked like, he looks like an MLB level player there. Like he didn't tear the house down. He just looked okay. Are the wheels still there? We'll see if, he still could run and provide any other value on the bases, or if not. But also, we all know deep down, we're just waiting for that next. Oh, he popped a hamstring. Oh, he popped his groin again. Or, some kind of like lower muscle injury, because that's kind of what he's been throughout his whole career.
It's definitely the most concerning player going into this year, mainly because you have him tied down for the next 2 seasons no matter what. So, I mean, the thing is that there's just so much risk involved with Starling Marte, and seeing him as a factor in this lineup, I mean, I really hope that at best he's batting in the lower third. I hope that he is. It would make sense as to where the trajectory he's going in an age 35 season. We're just hoping to get, like we've said, 50% of the player he was in 2022, and then we would be satisfied with what we're getting. We're overpaying for his value the next 2 years, no matter what. That's a guarantee. I'm hoping that we do get a plus player. I hope that he's better, but I'm not going to obviously count on it. I've talked about him being a non-factor for a long time, and I still believe that because I think that, but at this point, he's Starling Marte. He is going to be our starting right fielder on opening day, and that is that, and we'll see where it goes from there. Hopefully he can stay healthy, and that's what I'm really banking on. Hopefully we can see him in the lineup, and hopefully he feels good throughout the entire year, because there's a good chance that we can get a productive Starling Marte if he actually is healthy. I want to remind everybody that projections are not predictions. They are benchmarks of the player's current specific percentile outcome based on predictive data and results. For my projections, I decided to go with, in my opinion, each player's 75th percentile outcome. Although a majority of player projections are at the 50th percentile outcome, I personally wanted to have a median between sustainability and upside. Also gives you a decent look as to who I am high on and who I am low on going into 2024. As for Starling Marte, 419 plate appearances, slashing 243, 312, 388 with 8 home runs, 44 runs batted in, a 96 weighted runs created plus, and a wins above replacement of 0.7.
That's pretty much what you're kind of expecting out of a 35-year-old Starling Marte. 8 homers, 243 batting average, the OPS exactly at 700. I mean, it's a league average hitter. That's a league average player. And could there be an outlier season? Sure. If he stays healthy and, his groin's feeling fine, and, there's a world where it happens. We're just not going to bank it, especially when we're looking at computer projections. He's not going to have the benefit of the doubt of, hey, maybe he has a better season. It's a wait and see. And, if that, again, it's a solid baseline of what he is. He's a slightly average player. Maybe he pops off and it's a little bit above average. There's a chance where it's a slightly below average. So, again, that's kind of just a perfect kind of middle ground of what he is at this age.
Most projection systems, the highest they got him at, 100 bat. I mean, that's literally it. The best in full capacity, obviously, 50 percentile outcome. But there is some power numbers here. I mean, Steamer's got him at 15 home runs. Some have him at 9. For me, I'm just not seeing it. For you to homer at Citi Field consistently, you need to pull the ball. So for him, it's really hard with the lower half that he has currently in question.
It's better than last season, but it is quite a bit worse than 2022. And it's just that if that's his production, that's not what he's getting paid, So I think overall it is a disappointment. But I think the main thing is you just want to see the guy on the field, really. And then just kind of see where it goes from there to see which version of Marte you're going to get. Again, you're not going to get the 2022, but you're hoping that the guy you're getting is significantly better than 2023.
So as for Starling Marte, and I'm going to ask this, what would be your limit? If he is performing so bad and becomes a sunk cost type of Robinson Cano, as to where you're like, okay, this guy needs to be benched. They might have to move on from this. They might have to send him down or something. At what point do you say enough is enough?
More so it becomes one of those things where we talk about if you're gone, who you're replacing him with. And it's like, let's say DJ Stewart gets a hot stretch and Marte is just absolutely brutal. Or let's say Drew Gilbert comes up and somehow Bader and Nimmo are healthy and productive. There's a few different ways that it's like this guy just isn't worth it. And I think that, you probably ride it out through this season. because, again, that's just the kind of approach the Mets have had this offseason. But I'll tell you what, if the Mets actually do get back to spending next offseason, they get like some true big-time starting pitchers. They bring back Pete Alonso, get another big bat. Like, I don't want to say Juan Soto, but like they get another big bat. Then it becomes Cano stats where it's like, you know what? You eat it. And if you have a better player, you play them. That's the way I look at it. So I'll probably give them this year, unless it was, like I said, in the Vientos sphere, unless the Mets are super competitive and there's an option that's significantly better on the roster, then fine, make the move. There's a lot of different ways it could happen. And that's the unfortunate part about it, is that, whether it's from within or it's just him not being on the field, there's a few different ways it could happen.
It's just a bunch of extra variables. Again, I think he's going to get the leash. He's going to get a very long leash game, just kind of like Cano. But if, let's say, Drew is raging in June, I think, and he's back to just swinging and everything, doesn't look like he seems to care like some of the ABs he took in 2022 or 2023, there's going to be a call, and there needs to be, if, again, how this season is of playing the kids to get Drew the experience, I think that could be a call. I think, again, DJ Stewart would be the first guy. Obviously, he'd be on the bench. You can say, all right, bench him and then see where it is. But if Drew is what we think he is and he gets through a hot stretch and I'm not saying April, but again, mid-June, July, I think that's when you might see the eventual pulling of the plug, is if Drew goes on a hot streak and you say, all right, they start, again, the team's not going anywhere, which we expect the team to be going nowhere at times. Then, in the second half, let Drew play every day in right field, in our center field, depending on if Harrison Bader has gotten an injury of some sort. And then, again, you're running that second half post-deadline of just playing the kids and that big. But I think definitely he's going to get every opportunity just because of the number next to him. And I think once every other asset's been expended, then I think you'll see, the plug being pulled.